Nobody's gonna kill you. You're safe, you and the kids. No one's coming after you. They just wanted Charlie. And I was just trying to reassure and confirm that Charlie Kirk is now in heaven after being shot at a rally in Utah.
My highest interest in you is obviously as it relates to Charlie Kirk and your involvement with Turning Point USA.
I realize that.
Yeah,
and you're right.
We can speak about Corby, but you're, this isn't your stage.
Victor Marx just put himself in a very uncomfortable spotlight. After his appearance on Candace Owens' podcast, people are looking at him sideways, and for good reason. He hinted that certain people close to Charlie Kirk may have seen warning signs before that tragic shooting even happened. But what's really setting people off isn't just what he said, it's how he said it. No emotion, no hesitation, ice cold, like he was reading the weather forecast. That kind of calm doesn't sit right with people, especially when Erica and everyone in Charlie's inner circle have been loudly insisting they had no idea anything was coming. They've acted flat out offended every time someone even suggested otherwise. So now you've got Victor casually letting it slip that he already knew Charlie was gone before any official word came out, and that detail is hitting people hard. Because if that's true, it raises a question nobody in that circle wants to answer out loud. Did Victor just accidentally blow the lid off something that people on the inside have been working overtime to keep buried? Because if people close to Charlie really had some kind of heads up before that shooting, then every theory people wrote off as noise, it just got a whole lot more credible. Victor Marx may be sitting on a lot more information than he's actually letting out.
Candace, you seem to be a little afraid of truth. And what I once thought was a solid show years ago, you've turned this into a TMZ, and worse than TMZ, it's like a Temu version of it.
The second he walked onto Candace Owens' podcast, something felt off and viewers picked up on it fast. This wasn't a friendly sit-down. Candace came in sharp, pressing Victor directly about his actions around the time Charlie passed. And Victor? He kept pausing before answering, like he was calculating every word 3 steps ahead. People online were already side-eyeing him before the clip that broke the internet even aired. And then came the moment that stopped everyone cold. Victor revealed that the very first thing he did after hearing the news was text Erica Kirk saying, "No one is going to hurt you. You're safe."
And then I contacted Erica through a text and told her. I just told her, nobody's gonna kill you. You're safe, you and the kids. No one's coming after you. They just wanted Charlie. And I was just trying to reassure her.
You and the kids, they just wanted Charlie. Even Candace visibly paused for a second. Because that statement hit different. How does someone sound that certain, that specific about who the intended target was? As Charlie's own spiritual advisor, most people would expect his first move to be prayer, comfort, something emotional. Instead, Victor was making guarantees like he had access to information the rest of the world hadn't seen yet. The more people replayed that clip, the harder it got to brush off how surgical his words were. And here's where it gets even darker. Before this interview, Victor already had a reputation that made people uneasy. Candace herself had previously called him out publicly, pointing to allegations involving animal cruelty, claims about commanding demonic forces, and even accusations of being connected to someone losing their life and evidence disappearing. So when Victor sat down across from Candace, people weren't walking in neutral, they were already watching him closely. And somehow, he still managed to make it worse. Victor's body language alone was telling a story he wasn't saying out loud. He didn't look shaken, he didn't look lost. While discussing something as heavy as a sudden tragedy involving someone in his own circle, he stayed cool, measured, almost clinical. And viewers noticed.
It's been confirmed that Charlie Kirk is now in heaven after being shot at a rally in Utah. He's only there to bring truth and be a light.
Especially every time Candace pushed him into a corner instead of cracking, he just got more careful with his words. Now remember, there had already been months of whispers online that people inside TPUSA weren't being fully straight about the circumstances around Charlie's passing. Those suspicions never went away, even after public denials. So when Victor started dropping oddly specific statements on camera, people didn't let it slide. They connected every dot straight back to those older questions. Instead of cooling things down, he basically threw fuel onto a fire that was already burning. Then Candace brought up the detail that had been eating at people for months. Victor was the very first public figure to post about Charlie's passing. And not just first, his post went up within minutes of the shooting, before Charlie had even been officially confirmed gone. So Candace asked exactly what everyone online had been whispering. How did he know that fast? Why post something that definitive before Charlie's own family had confirmation? And if he was so confident, why did that post quietly disappear shortly after? Victor didn't answer directly. He shifted, rambled, talked around it. It wasn't until Candace refused to move on that he finally offered an explanation, claiming his military background made him sense. Charlie likely wouldn't make it. Social media erupted instantly.
Can you explain how you found that out and why you chose to remove the video?
Well, yeah, I'm first interested to find out why y'all think I was the first or one of the first, to do that. Because, a rough estimate, there's between 1 to 3 million pieces of social media content that are produced every second worldwide. My team looked it up.
Because now people weren't just questioning his words, they were questioning what he knew and when he knew it. Then the digging started. People went back through everything Victor reportedly did in those early hours. The text to Erica telling her she and the kids were safe because Charlie was the only target. And then an armored vehicle, reportedly arranged by Victor himself, to transport Erica and the children away from the scene. And the questions didn't stop at Victor. People started asking why Victor and his wife were right there with Erica the day Charlie's body was flown home on Air Force 2. Close friend or not, that detail hit different once people started lining everything up side by side. Because at that point, viewers weren't just seeing a grieving friend showing up for support. They were seeing a pattern. And patterns make people ask questions that don't go away easily. Social media went completely off the rails. One comment gaining serious traction read, "This man rehearsed this many times. He's absolutely full of it. And if you people can't see how contrived and planned this is, you're complicit in their cover-up." A lone gunman story is absolute nonsense. And that wasn't even close to the only reaction blowing up online. Another person fired back with, "Exactly. How did he know she wasn't next on the list?" That kind of confidence means he's connected to the whole thing. Now, whether those theories hold any real weight or fall apart under pressure, one thing became impossible to ignore after that interview. Victor's sit-down with Candace did not cool anything down. It didn't reassure anyone. It didn't answer the questions people had been carrying for months. Instead, it cracked the door open even wider and let in a whole wave of new suspicions that people are now running with at full speed. But here's where the story takes a turn that nobody was fully prepared for. Because the moment people started digging past Victor, they realized the conversation was about to get a whole lot bigger. Viewers started pulling old footage back into circulation, comparing timelines, rewatching clips that had been mostly forgotten, and this time, they zeroed in on someone who had been quietly sitting in the background of this entire story. Charlie's chief of staff.
You declared he was dead on the basis of people saying it didn't look good.
On the basis of people, myself included, who've held dead and dying men from combat in horrible situations. And anybody who saw the killing and has that experience, we knew he was dead instantly.
Mickey McCoy. In footage captured from the scene right after Charlie was hit, people noticed something that stopped them mid-scroll. Mickey appeared to be moving away from the immediate chaos, already deep in a phone call, while everything around him was still completely unfolding. No visible panic, no visible confusion. Just movement and a phone pressed to his ear while the scene behind him was still raw and chaotic. And once social media locks onto something like that, once people start slowing footage down frame by frame and screenshot by screenshot, every single movement, every expression, every direction someone looks becomes part of a much larger conversation. People started asking who Mickey was calling in those first moments, what information he already had access to, why he appeared so composed and purposeful while the situation around him hadn't even been fully processed by anyone else on the scene yet. Then it escalated further. Because it wasn't just speculation about a phone call. Erica Kirk herself later came forward and confirmed something that sent the internet into an entirely new spiral. She revealed that Mickey had told her directly with full certainty that Charlie was gone. And he did this just minutes after the shooting happened, before any official word had come down from medical personnel, before any public confirmation, before anything that would normally give someone that level of certainty. So now the picture people were building online had shifted dramatically. This was no longer just about Victor Marx and one uncomfortable interview. Suddenly, viewers found themselves staring at multiple people inside Charlie's closest inner circle, who all appeared to have known the outcome before the rest of the world caught up. And that overlap that shared certainty among people who were supposedly just as blindsided as everyone else is exactly what sent the theories into overdrive. People started mapping it out publicly. Victor texting Erica that she and the kids were safe because Charlie was the only target before confirmation. Victor posting publicly about Charlie's passing within minutes of the shooting before official word. Mickey calling someone from the scene immediately before the situation had even settled. Mickey telling Erica with certainty that Charlie was gone before confirmation, and then Victor and his wife physically present when Charlie's body returned home on Air Force 2. Every single one of these moments, taken alone, might be explainable. But stacked together, people online were not letting it go. And what made everything worse is that none of the people being asked about these details gave clean, direct answers. Victor deflected. He rambled. He leaned on his military background as a way to explain instincts that most people felt went way beyond gut feelings. And the less direct his answers got, the louder the public reaction became. Because when someone has nothing to hide, the natural move is to answer clearly. When someone starts calculating every word before it leaves their mouth, people notice. And they remember. Now, there's another layer to this that people started bringing up once the Victor conversation exploded, and it connects directly to the broader suspicion that TPUSA as an organization may have information about Charlie's final days that hasn't been fully shared with the public. Because multiple people online pointed out that the official narrative around Charlie's passing had always felt slightly too clean. Too wrapped up. Like certain details had been carefully managed from the very beginning rather than simply reported as they happened. And look, organizations protect themselves. That's not a conspiracy theory, that's just how institutions operate when something catastrophic happens inside their walls. But when the people closest to the situation start making statements on camera that contradict the idea of total surprise, it stops being about organizational reputation and starts being about what people actually knew and when they knew it. The internet also started revisiting old timelines around the shooting itself. People went back and looked at how quickly certain statements were made publicly, how fast the lone gunman narrative got locked in, how little room seemed to exist in the early hours for any alternative questions to even be raised. And for a lot of viewers, that speed felt less like efficiency and more like a story being shaped before all the facts were even available. Some people online pushed back hard on all of this, insisting that trauma affects people differently, that some individuals simply go into survival and logistics mode after a shock, and that certainty in a crisis doesn't automatically equal prior knowledge. And those are fair points that deserve to be in the conversation. Grief is not one size fits all, and not every composed person in a crisis is hiding something sinister. But the pushback didn't slow the theories down. If anything, it fueled more debate, because the people asking questions weren't just random accounts throwing out wild takes. Some of them were journalists, researchers, and people with direct knowledge of how these kinds of situations typically unfold, and even they were flagging certain details as unusual. What really kept the fire burning was the silence. The people being directly questioned, Victor, Mickey, others in the circle, weren't coming out with clear timelines, clear explanations, or clear answers to the specific questions being raised. And in the internet age, silence reads as confirmation to a lot of people, whether that's fair or not. Every day that passed without a direct response to the specific claims being made online just added more weight to the suspicion that something was being protected. And then there's Erica Kirk herself, who has been navigating all of this publicly while also grieving. People online have been deeply divided about how to interpret her role in everything. Some viewers feel she is genuinely a person who lost someone and is now being surrounded by people who may not have her best interests at heart. Others have pointed to certain decisions she made in the aftermath, who she allowed close, who she relied on, what she confirmed publicly, and asked whether she knows more than she has openly shared. But most people seem to agree on one thing, whatever Erica does or doesn't know. The people immediately around her have some serious explaining to do. Because at the end of the day, this is what the conversation really comes down to. Charlie Kirk was a major public figure. His passing sent shockwaves through an entire political movement. The circumstances around it were always going to be examined closely. And when the people closest to him start making statements on camera that don't line up cleanly with the story the public was given, that examination becomes something much more intense. Victor Marx walked into that interview probably thinking he could control the narrative. Instead, he handed the internet exactly the kind of inconsistency it needed to keep an entire investigation alive. And now, every person connected to Charlie's inner circle is under a level of scrutiny that isn't going anywhere anytime soon. Because once people start asking whether the official story holds up and they find even one detail that doesn't quite fit, the questions multiply fast. And right now, the questions are multiplying at a speed that nobody inside that circle seems prepared to handle. The story isn't closed, the timeline isn't clean, and the people with the most direct access to what actually happened in those final hours are still not giving the kind of straight, clear, detailed answers that would actually put this conversation to rest. So, what do you think is really going on here? Do you believe Victor and Mickey simply reacted the way some people do in extreme crisis situations? Or does something about their behavior feel like it goes beyond that? Drop everything you're thinking in the comments right now, because this conversation is just getting started and we want to hear exactly where you stand on all of it. And if you're not subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? Hit that subscribe button, like this video, share it with someone who needs to see it, and we will see you in the next one.